Begin today the Gemara towards the bottom of Daf Mem Beis Amud Beis, about 10 or 15 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Here this Gemara continues halachas that, speaking about kaifer, but before that actually the Gemara brings a pasuk that it says over there in the Parsha. Okay, let's see. Tana Rabbanon, we learned in the Braisa as follows. The pasuk says, Vehemis Isha Yisha. This shared, gored and killed, man or a woman. So the pasuk spells out both, Isha Isha. So Amar Rabba Kiva says about this pasuk, V'chima ba zeh lilamdeinu. Why does the pasuk here have to spell out that the payment of the kaifer is both for Isha or Isha? If it's simply coming to say that the chiyuv to pay the kaifer is the same for a woman like a man, but in the beginning of it there, it already says that they're the same, because it says in the beginning of the parsha, ki yigach shoir es isha yes isha. So it says already both Isha and Isha. Why does it say afterwards again, vehemes, that it killed the Isha and Isha? Elo, says the Gemara, so it's saying this for a different reason. Lahakish Isha leish. It's coming to compare the woman to the man when it comes to the Yerusha of this payment. Who inherits this payment? And what it's saying is as follows. Ma ish, just like when it comes to a man, nizakov liyarshav, that if there's any payment for damages that's owed to him and he's not alive anymore, who yarshins this payment? His yarshim, his children yarshin this payment. Afisha, so too when it comes to a woman, nizakeha liyarsheha, the payment for her damages, if she's not alive, who's going to yarshin this? Her children are going to yarshin it. Now the chiddush over here is usually by a woman who yarshins her husband yarshins her. But over here it's saying that the payment to this woman, if she's not alive, who's the one that's going to yarshin it? Her children are going to yarshin it. Her yarshim, not the husband. That's the comparison of the Ish to the Isha. That's what the Torah writes over here, both Ish and Isha, to compare them regarding Yerusha. The Gemara asks on this, V'sava Rabba Kiva lo yaris labal. Does Rabba Kiva hold that a husband will not inherit his wife? She passes away. But Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa, Rabba Kiva himself says, the Parsha, where it talks about Yerushas and Nachlis, over there it says, V'yara shaisa, that the wife will inherit, the husband that is inherits his wife. Mikan shabal yoresh asishtoi, Divri Rabba Kiva. Rabba Kiva says that whatever possessions a wife leaves, and in this case, not only possessions, but the damages that's owed to her, and she passes away, the husband should be the one that inherits it. Why are we saying over here, we're on the bottom of Mem Beis Amud Beis? So why is the Gemara saying over here that we learn out from Ish and Isha to say that no, the husband does not inherit? It's her Yarshim, her children, that inherit this. And says the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish explains, Loi Amar, or like Amar Rabba Kiva, Elo B'Kaifer. Over here in the Braisa that we quoted before, that the husband is not yarshin his wife, that's not talking about any kind of damages or any other thing that he does inherit from her. It's talking specifically about the payment of Kaifer when the Isha was killed by this shayr, someone that gored her, this Isha, and killed her. And now, who gets the payment of the Kaifer? Over here, that's what the pasuk is saying. Just like by a man, the payment of the kaifer, if the man is killed, goes to the children, his yarshim. So too over here, by the payment specifically by kaifer, that the husband does not get. Why is that? Hoyel ve'ein mishtalem el alacha misa. Because the payment of the kaifer is only after the wife dies. Because we only pay kaifer after the person was killed. In this case, when the wife was killed. And therefore the rule is as follows. So therefore this is a kind of payment which is in potential. It could be paid. Again, what? A prospective payment. Okay, it's roi. It's a payment in potential. It's not yet an actual possession she has when she's alive. And the rule is, ve'ein habal noitel beroi kibamuchsik. A husband does not inherit his wife with something which is potentially hers, like something which she already owns. This is a halacha which you find over here, and the Gemara will soon point out that you find this also benegea to the double portion that a buchair gets. Usually by an inheritance, there's no difference whether you're inheriting something from someone that he already owned in his possession, or something that's owed to him, or something that he's going to get later on. That which is called roy. It's perspective. It's going to come. It's not here yet. But by the Yerusha of a husband from a wife, or as we'll see soon, similar, the Yerusha of the double portion that a B'chai receives, when do they get this Yerusha? Only if it's something which is already muhsik, which is already in possession before he passed away, or before the wife passed away over here. But if it's something which wasn't yet there when she was alive, the husband doesn't yarshin it. So now kaifer, the whole payment of kaifer is only after she dies. So therefore, this is something that the husband is not yarshin. And my time, we learned this here from this pasuk. Amakra, the pasuk says, "Vehemis isha isha hashar yisakel v'gam ba'olav yumas im kaifer yusha solav." Now, what the Gemara is bringing from this pasuk is that when it says hashar yisakel, when is this shar chayiv skila for killing this person after the person actually dies? So too, when it says in the end of the pasuk, "Im kaifer yusha solav," the payment of the kaifer is only after the person dies. So in this case, the payment of the kaifer the obligation, that is, to pay this kaifer only begins when this woman dies. So therefore, the husband doesn't yarshin that. There was no chiyuv of payment of kaifer while she was alive. The whole chiyuv begins only after she passes away. Now, Tosfos over here points out, even though this halacha that a husband does not inherit his wife in anything that's ra'oi is not only regarding this kaifer, it's regarding any other case of something which is roi. There's other Gemara Text brings from the Gemara in other places, but nevertheless over here there's a chiddush because true the chiyuv only begins after she passes away, but nevertheless the chiyuv starts by the fact that the shir gored her when she was alive. That's what causes this chiyuv. So you may say that this is a kind of chiyuv that's caused when she's alive, through the chabala, through the injury that when she was alive, which then caused her to die. Maybe the husband should yarshin this. So therefore you need a separate pasuk here to say that this is also included in that rule of ra'oi, and the husband does not yarshin this. Okay, so the Gemara interprets this praisa here only regarding kaifer. So the Gemara asks, how about any payment of damages that were owed to a person's wife? Would Rabbi Akiva there not say the same thing, that the husband will not inherit this as well? The Gemara now is limiting this point that the husband does not inherit his wife only regarding kaifer. Anything else of his wife he does inherit, which would mean even things that are owed to his wife, even damages that are owed to the wife, the husband will inherit. But is that true? Vatanya, but in Abraisa we learned hika esa isha, a person that hit a woman v'yotzi yulodeo, and she miscarried. So there's different payments over here for what happened. Noisen nezak v'tzar li'isha. So the injury that the woman herself has, or any pain that she herself experienced, that payment goes to the woman herself. She's the one that got injured or experienced this pain. That payment she gets. But udmei v'lodois, the loss of the pregnancy, the fact that she miscarried, the babies that were lost, the value of that, who gets that? She doesn't get it. Labal. That's paid for the husband. Okay, now the Braisa continues. Eina Baal, if the husband's not alive, the husband passes away, so Noisun Yarshav, this payment that had to be paid for the injury, for the miscarriage, for the babies that were lost, who gets that? The husband's Yarshim. Eina Isha, if the woman is not alive, and she was owed also payments for her injury and for her tsar, who gets that? Nisanis Yarshav. So that payment goes to her Yarshim. So here the Braisa is clearly saying, this is the question the Gemara is going to say, the Braisa is clearly saying that even regarding a nezek, even regarding the payment of damages, not just kaifer, who's the one that gets it? Her Yarshim and not the husband. The Braisa continues and says, if it's a case where she has no Yarshim, how could it be a case that she has no Yarshim? If she was a shivcha, she was a shivcha kananis that was then freed, and once she's freed, she's basically now a full yid, she's a giyaitis, and she got married to a Evet Kanani that was also freed, and he's a ger, so she's a giyaitis, he's a ger, or a giyaitis, or she was a giyaitis. So the point is, in both of these cases, there are no Yarshim over here. Okay, so because they have no relatives, so there's no Yarshim. They're both the husband and the woman. They're both Geirim. So there's no Yarshim over here. And so who gets the payment? So it says the Braisa, Zocha. The person that damaged and he was supposed to pay this money, he himself could keep this payment for himself. He doesn't have to pay it. Why not? So Rashi explains, because what's the rule with any ger or giyatis that dies and has no Yarshim? Who gets their possessions? The answer is Kol HaKaidim Zocha. Whoever's first could go and grab and be zeichel for himself because they have no Yarshim. In this case, this person that owes the money, he's the one that will be zeichel the first because he has the money in his hands that he has to give. So he already has it in his hands. He's going to be zeichel in it first. So therefore, Zacha, he's zeichel in it. Okay, what's the Gemara's question here? The Gemara's question over here is that before we said that according to Rabbi Akiva, only the kaifer, the husband, is not yarshin because that's called ra'oi. It's something it's not yet in possession of the wife. But by nezakin, the husband does yarshin it. But here in the Braisa, it clearly says that the When it comes to the nizakin, who yarshins it? Not the husband. We pay that to the yarshim, her yarshim, that is. So the Gemara answers, Amar Rabbe, what's that Braisa talking about? Begrusha. That Braisa is talking about that she was divorced. So if she was divorced, that's why the husband doesn't yarshin her. In other words, the truth is that nizakin is different than kaifer. By nizakin, the husband would yarshin her. But over there, because it's a grusha, the husband doesn't get it. That's that Braisa. Rav Nachman begrusha. Rav Nachman also said that Braisa is talking about a grusha, and therefore the husband doesn't yarshin anything there. But the Gemara asks, if you're going to say that this Braisa is talking about a grusha, Omri, so the yeshiva students asked about this answer. Grusha nami, when it comes to a grusha, tifloik b'demei v'lodais. Shouldn't you split the payment for the miscarriage? What did it say in the Braisa? Who's the one that gets the payment for the miscarriage? The husband. And what if the husband's not alive, or the wife is not alive? Who's the one that gets the payment of this miscarriage? The yarshim of the husband. The woman, if she's alive, or her yarshim, they don't get anything. But the question is, that doesn't make sense, because if the husband divorced her already, and now there's a payment over here for the miscarriage, shouldn't you split the payment of the miscarriage of the babies between the husband and the wife? If they're married, so then you could say that the husband gets the money because everything from the wife always goes to the husband anyways. So over here, regarding the babies, we will understand that he gets the payment for the babies, the miscarriage. But if they're divorced, shouldn't you say that you split the payment of this miscarriage between the yarshim of the husband and the woman? Why are we saying that the husband gets everything? So that the Gemara answers, that's not a question. Omar Rav Papa, over here, it's based on the pasuk HaTorah zichsa zochsa dmei v'lodas lebal. The Torah says that if there was a fight here and someone caused this woman to miscarry, who gets the payment of these babies? The husband. Doesn't matter, always. And that's even in a case where it's not even a husband at all. Even if the pregnancy here came from a znus, from an inappropriate relationship, so there's no husband b'chlal. Nevertheless, who's the one that gets the payment of these babies? The man. My timer, because the pasuk Omakra, the pasuk says, Kashiyoshes olav Baal Ha'isha. When it talks about the payment of the babies, it says that who's the one that places this payment? Who do you have to pay it to? To the Baal Ha'isha. Baal Ha'isha means the Baal. Baal, Rashi says, even the one that was boil her, even if it was inappropriate, and that's how she was pregnant, the man is the one that gets these payments. The woman doesn't get that payment at all. So therefore here as well, even if they're divorced, who's the one that gets the payment? The man, not the woman. Okay, but now the Gemara has another question. What did we say? That kaifer and ezikin are different. When it comes to kaifer, we consider that to be something which is roy. It's not something that was owed while she's alive, and therefore the husband is not yarshin that. However, when it comes to nezikin, we consider nezikin to be something which really the husband does get that payment, meaning the husband inherits it from the wife. If the wife passes away, the husband should inherit it. Elamai over here is talking about a grusha. But the Gemara is going to question this. The Gemara over here is going to ask, l'chayre, you could say by nezikin as well, it's also a kind of payment which is called ra'oi, which is not yet in the possession of the woman. If she's owed money for damages, that someone damaged her, is that considered to be money that's already in her possession? What did we say before? We said before the rule is, if there's something which is muhsik, if it's money that's already in her possession, the husband yarshins it. If it's roy, if it's just something which is owed to her, it's potential, but she doesn't have it yet, that's called roy, and the husband is not yarshin it. So now the Gemara wants to understand why we're making a distinction between kaifer and nezikin. Shouldn't we say by any payment for nezikin as well, it's money that's owed to her, but it wasn't paid to her yet? Shouldn't that consider to be ro'oi, and the husband should not be able to yarshin it? Why aren't we? That's the premise here of the Gemara's question. Now the Gemara here, just before we learn it inside, the Gemara is going to bring that really you could discuss the same shaila regarding a lot of different cases of ro'oi. What's considered to be still in a case of ro'oi? Let's say money was owed, there was a loan, there was money that was owed to this isha, and now she passes away, and the borrower comes to pay it after she passed away. Is that called roy or is that called muhsik? On one hand, the money was owed to her already before she passed away. So in that sense, it's sort of already in her possession. On the other hand, the money is not being collected until later. So it's called roy. Same thing over here with this nezikin, this payment of the nezikin. The money is owed to her already from before, because she was damaged from before. But it wasn't collected until afterwards. So is that roy or is that muhsik? So here the Gemara is going to bring that there's a machlokes of Rabbe and Rav Nachman, and what they say is that actually depends how the payment is being made. Says the Gemara as follows. Why can't we say over here regarding this payment of Nezikin, L'Rabbe, according to Rabbe's opinion, Kogoin Shegovu Mo'is, that what was collected over here for this payment was cash, was money, not properties. Rav Nachman, Kogoin Shegovu Karka. And according to Rav Nachman, we can say that the case over here is that what was collected, a piece of land, a piece of property, that's what was collected. Now the Gemara explains what's the basis of here, of what it's saying. So as I said, Rabbe and Rav Nachman are talking about a case where there was money owed to this Isha. Now, if this money is being paid after she passes away, what is that called? Is that money that's being paid now called Ra'oi, that it's just money that was in potential? Or is that money that's called Muchsik? It's already in her possession because they're paying a loan that was there from before. So here's a machlokes of Rabbe and Rav Nachman. The Omar Rabbe said it depends. Govu Karka, if what was collected is a piece of land, so then, this piece of land that was collected, what's the halacha of a piece of karka? There's always a shibud. Where's the shibud of every loan? There's a shibud of the loan on the karka itself. And therefore, yeshloi. In such a case, the husband could yarshin this. Why could the husband yarshin this? Because the piece of karka is already mishubad from before. That's called muchsik. Even though it was only paid up afterwards, but because the shibud is there from before, so therefore the karka that's being paid now is already muchsik from before. But if what was collected is just money, money is not called muchsik because there is no shibud on cash. So therefore the money that's paid is money that comes later, and therefore that the husband will not get. That's what Rabbi says. Rav Nachman says, no, it's actually the opposite. If the loan that's being collected after the wife passes away, money that was owed to her, right? And that she collects this money, or the money is collected after she passes away, so then yeshloi, then the husband could inherit this. Why? So Rashi explains, because when it comes to money, because what did she borrow? She borrowed money, she lent. She lent money, and now she's getting paid back money. So the money that she's getting paid back is the money that she lent. Since it's money that she lent and now she's getting paid back money, that's considered to be muhsik because she's getting back what she lent. That's something that the husband will get. Govu karka ein loy. However, if she collected for the loan that she lent just a piece of land, that's not considered to be something which is muhsik. That's called something which is roy. Why? Because she lent money and she's getting back only karka. Karka is not what she lent. She lent money and she's not getting back cash. She's getting paid back with a piece of land. That's something new that she didn't have until now. She had money till now. Now she's getting something new, which is karka. That's something that the husband does not get. Okay, so what's the point? What do you see over here? When a woman is owed money and after she passes away and the payment comes in, does the husband inherit that payment? So it depends. According to Rabbe, if it was karka, then the husband gets it because karka, there's always a shibud on it. And Rav Nachman says if it's moist, then the husband gets it. So the Gemara's question over here is, when it says in this braisa that the payment for the damages that her yarshim inherited and the husband is not inherited, we could explain it both according to Rabbe and Rav Nachman. According to Rabbe, if the payment was money, that's called roi, and therefore the husband doesn't inherit it. And according to Rabbe, if the payment is karka, that's called roi, because she didn't have any karka before. That's a new thing. And therefore, that's the kind of payment that the husband should not get. Why couldn't we explain the Braisa this way? So the Gemara answers, Omri, so the Yeshiva students answer to this question, Hanemili lebnei marove alibe de Rabbanon. This entire argument between Rabbe and Rav Nachman, whether the payment is with money or the payment is with karka regarding a loan, whether this is considered to be something which is roy or muchsik, this is all explaining what the Bnei Marava said. Bnei Marava are from Eretz Yisrael, and they explain this according to the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon say that when there's a loan, when there's something which is coming to her after she passed away, that's really called something which is ro'oi. It's regarding that opinion of the Rabbanon that say that something that gets paid after, something that improves, something that grows. The Rabbanon say this not only regarding a loan. The Rabbanon say the same thing regarding a tree. If she had a tree in her property and the tree grew dates on it after she passed away, so the husband doesn't get that. Why? Because it grew after she passed away. That's called roy. Wasn't there when she was alive. That's the opinion of the Rabbanon. Now, according to the Rabbanon, the Bnei Marava said that when it comes to a loan, the husband will inherit from her, even though the loan is being paid after the woman passed away. It's regarding the opinion of the Rabbanon that Rabbe and Rav Nachman are arguing that there's a distinction. Sometimes the payment of the loan is considered to be ra'oi, sometimes the payment of the loan is considered to be muhsik. It depends if it's cash or if it's karka. But kikamri hacha, over here, the pshat that we said in this braise, that we must say that the husband divorced her, and therefore the husband is not yarshining, kerebi. Over here we're following Rebbe's opinion. What does Rebbe hold? Rebbe holds that it makes no difference, that Rebbe holds it over here, when it's a shvach, even though this is something that's coming after she died, it doesn't matter. This is all considered to be muhsik. The payment of the damages, even though it's only getting paid after she passed away, it's considered to be muhsik. If you have a tree that grows and it grows dates afterwards, it's all considered to be muhsik. Why? Because it's called a shvach haba me'elov. It's a shvach that's coming automatically. It's a payment that was already owed from before. So over here, regarding the nizakin, since this is a payment that was owed already from before, and it's a shvach haba me'elov, it's a payment that has to be paid, doesn't make a difference if it's karka or if it's mois, doesn't make a difference how it's going to get paid. Either way, this is the kind of yerusha that the husband should be able to get. And therefore, the only way to explain why the Brais here says that the husband does not get this yerusha, and the children get it, is to say that she was divorced. So therefore the husband, he's not her husband anymore, so he doesn't yarshin this. Okay, that's a pshat in the Gemara here. It's a little bit complicated. The whole machlokes, as I mentioned, this is benegayah to a husband and a wife. Here there's this rule of ra'oi, that you don't yarshin what's ra'oi. And over here, this machlokes of Rabbe and Rav Nachman, according to Rebbe and according to the Rabbanon, it's not only benegayah to a husband and a wife, as I mentioned before, and Rashi brings there, it's the same. Over there, they were arguing regarding a bechor that gets a double portion. So over there as well, there's the same kind of argument. This halacha that a bechor gets a double portion is only if the possessions of the father were muhsik already. He had it already in his possession. Not if it's something which is roy. Something which is roy, you don't get. And over there, there's the machlokes of Rebbe and the Rabbanon. Rebbe says that as long as it's something which is gonna come, it's a shvach haba me'elov, it's a payment of a loan, of damages that has to be paid, the bechor gets a double portion, the husband yarshins it. Mashenk and the Rabbanon hold that no, if it's something which is being collected after the husband passed away, or the wife passed away, that is, or after the father passed away, the bechor does not yarshin, even though it's something that's owed already from before. And that's where Rabbi and Rav Nachman argued that it depends what kind of a payment it is. It depends if it's a payment of karka or if it's a payment of mois. But our Gemara, the Braise that we explained before that it's talking about Gerusha, was going according to Rebbe. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Omar Rav Shimon ben Lakish. Rav Shimon ben Lakish says another halacha over here regarding the payment of, there's two kinds of payments when a shor gored and killed someone. There's the payment for an eved. Over there, there's a set amount, the Torah says, you pay 30 sloim. And then there's the payment of kaifer. When a shor kills another yid, you pay their kaifer. So Rav Shimon ben Lakish said as follows, Shor shehem is a eved, a shor that killed an eved, shaloi b'chavana. Now we see that the shor did not intend to kill this eved. It was fighting with someone else. And the eved came and ran in and got involved. And the shor ended up goring this eved, shaloi b'chavana, and killed him. Pater mishleishim shkolim. You don't have to pay the 30 shkolim that the Torah says. Shenemar, because the pasuk says, "Kesav shloishim shkolim yitin ladainav." You pay the 30 shkolim, vashar yisakol, and the shor has to be stoned to death. Now, kol zman shashar beskila. Only if the shor has to be put to death, then abayla mishalom shloishim shkolim. Then you have to pay the 30 shkolim. Ain't a shor beskila, but if it's a case where the shor is not put to death, and that's what this case over here is, because when the shor kills someone, shaloi b'chavana, it does not have to be put to death. And a bailam mishalom shloishim shkolim. So then the bailam does not have to pay this knas of the 30 shkolim for killing the sevet. Similar halacha Rabbi says when a shor killed a yid. Rabbi says shor shehem is ben chayrin. A shor that kills a yid, a ben chayrin, shaloi b'chavana, also without kavana, pater mekayfer. You pater to pay the payment of kaifer. Shenema, similar pasuk, it says, Ashur yisakel v'gam ba'olav yumas im kaifer yushas olav. So the beginning of the pasuk, it says that you stone the sheher, and then it says you have to pay kaifer. So we learn out kolzman shasher b'skila, as long as you have to give the shor skila, ba'ila mishalman kaifer. Only then do you pay kaifer. Ein ashar b'skila, but if the shor does not get skila, and bailam mishalom and kaifer, then there's no payment of kaifer. These two things go together. Skila and kaifer go together. Okay, that's what the Gemara holds over here. But we did have before in Daf Mem Aleph, and we'll see also later on Amid Beis over here, there's other Amiram that argue with this. Gemara brought before that these two things don't necessarily go together. Even in a case where the shar killed someone shaloi b'chavana, and you don't have to stone the shar to death, but nevertheless there still is a payment of kaifer. The Gemara brought before, this is Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, which was a Tana. Here, this is Rabbi speaking. Rashi says, Rabbi holds like other Tanoim. Rabbi holds that this is based on a Mishnah later that says that the payment of the kaifer and the skila of the shor go hand in hand. If there's no skila for the shor, there's no payment of the kaifer. Abaye asks on Rabbi's halacha, there's a Mishnah that says as follows. A person comes and is admitting, a person's maida. Hey, Miss Shari is Pliny, my shire killed this person. My shire shall Pliny, or my shire killed another ox. So in these cases, even though he was maida himself, based on what he was maida, he's going to have to pay. Which means that if he's maida that his shire Gordon killed another human being, what does he have to pay? My love, don't you think this means kaifer, that he has to pay the payment of kaifer? Now, what's the Gemara's question? In a case where a person admits himself that his shayr Gordon killed another person, the shayr itself is not chayiv skila. Why not? Because the shayr itself, you can't kill a shayr just based on a person being made. You have to have eidim for this. In order to give a shayr itself skila, you have to have proper eidim for such a thing. And nevertheless, what's the Brisa saying? In Mishnah, this is actually, the Mishnah here is saying, even though there is no skila for the shayr, nevertheless, because the person himself is being made that he owes this money of kaifer, the kaifer that he was made that he owes, he still pays. So you see over here, not like Rabbi says, it goes together. If the share is chayiv skila, you pay the kaifer. Here you see that there's no skila for the share, because there's no eidim for that. And on the other hand, though, if he was made that he owes this money, you do pay the kaifer. Answers the Gemara, loy, that's not what that Mishnah means. Domim, what that Mishnah means is you pay money. What does this mean, you pay money? So Rashi explains what this means is that even in a case where there's no payment of kaifer, and why not? Because there's no skila for the shar, so there is no payment of kaifer. But on the other hand, though, there's still money that you have to pay. Why do you have to pay money? Because your shar caused a damage by killing the person. When you kill a person, there's a payment of kaifer. But even in a case where there's no kaifer, still you have to pay no less than any other damages. If you damage someone's property. In this case, what was the damage? The damage consists of the fact that you killed a person. Killing a person, besides the fact that he died, and usually there's a payment of kaifer, even if there's no kaifer, but as a hesek, the person that was killed is no less than any damage that you would have to pay. The value of the damage of what this person was worth, you evaluate how much it could be sold as an evet, and that you have to pay. So over here, when it says in this Mishnah that you pay, it's not the kaifer that you pay. You pay domim. Right? Okay, now there's a big discussion about this payment of domim. In what way is it different than kaifer? We had an opinion before in the Gemara that kaifer is evaluated by the value of the mazik. The domim is obviously evaluated by the value of the nizik, what the loss of the nizik is. So it's not the same kind of a payment. Even according to the opinion that says that kaifer is that you evaluate the value of the nizik, but still domim is different. Kaifer is a kapara. We learned before in the Gemara, if you don't pay kaifer, then the owner of this shayr is chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. The domim that you pay is a different kind of a payment. This is a payment of money. There's no chayiv misa b'dei shemayim in this case, but you have to pay the payment of your no less than any regular damages. That's what that Mishnah meant, but there's no payment of kaifer. But if that's what that Mishnah there is saying, that it's not a payment of kaifer, but you still have to pay for this as damages. But if so, aim is seifa. What is it saying, the seifa of that Mishnah there? If a person comes and admits, hey, Miss Shari is avdei pliny, my shar killed this eved. In such a case, he does not pay with him admitting on this. Why not? Because this is what's called maida b'knas. The payment for an eved, which is a set amount, is knas. So because he was maida in this knas, so you never pay when you're maida in a knas. But the Gemara asks now, but vi domim. If you're telling me we're not talking about kaifer here, and therefore in the sefer here as well, we're not talking about the payment of the knas. We're talking in this Mishnah, it's talking about the domim. It's talking about the payment you have to pay as damages. Forget about the knas. There is a certain loss that you caused to the owner of this eved, that he now lost his eved. He lost the value of ownership of his eved. That domim you have to pay. So this is not a knas. This is a regular payment that you will made that you should have to pay. So why is there any distinction that we're saying that by the eved that you potter? That's the question on Rabbi. So Amalei, Rabbi said to Abaye, Yechilna l'shlui loch. If you want, I could have answered you and said, Reisha Domim. In the Reisha, that when it says that he's Maida, he pays, there it's talking about the payment for the damages, and it's saying for the damages you pay. And the Seifa Knas, and the Seifa, when it's saying that you potter for the payment by the Eved, it's only saying that you potter for the 30 shkolim, which is the Knas. But you're right, the Domim you would still have to pay. So if you want, I could give you the answer and say that the Reisha and the Seifa are not talking about the same payments. But miu shinuya dechike loy mishanin alach. I'm not going to give you this kind of an answer, which is a deichik to say that the Reisha and the Seif are talking about two different types of payments. Rather, idi domim. Both the Reisha and the Seif are talking about the payment of money. So what's the difference between the Reisha and the Seif? Why in the Reisha, when a person is maida that his shar gored and killed someone, there's no payment of kaifer, but you still have to pay the domim, the value of the damage that you caused. And why by the Seifer, if you are maida that your shar Gordon killed an Eved, with that haidah, you're not going to have to pay for the damages. What's the difference? So the Gemara explains, Mio ben chayre, because Baya ben chayre, the mishalem kaifer al piatzmai. There is a possibility that when a person could pay kaifer, even kaifer, when he was maida himself. Even though before we said that when a person is maida himself, you don't pay kaifer because you're not going to stone the shar to death, so you don't pay kaifer. But the Gemara here will describe a case where there is a possibility for a person to pay kaifer when he's maida himself. And when is that? Ve'echi dami, what's the case? The yasa sadi v'asida bei the kotal. There are Adam here. Adam come and say that this shar Gordon killed somebody. So then why do you need him to be maida to pay? Because because the case over here is the Adam say that they saw that this shar Gordon killed someone, but it's unknown if the shar was a tam or the shar was a muad. Now in the case of a tam, there is no kaifer by a tam. There's only kaifer by a muad. And the owner of this ox comes and admits and says that this shar was a muad. In such a case, the mishalem kaifer al piatzmai. So he pays kaifer with his owner when he admits himself. So what do you see over here? That the person could admit himself, and in such a case, he's going to pay the kaifer. And this isn't a case where the shar is being stoned to death. So therefore, because the shar is being stoned, so too when he admits that it's a mu'id, he's going to have to pay the kaifer. That's in the case where he pays the kaifer. Now, says the Gemara, since we see that there is a power to him being maida to pay kaifer, so therefore we extend this and say, heiche, the lek edim, if there are no edim that the shar Gordon killed someone, mishalem domim. Even though you can't pay kaifer, but since we see there's a power to him admitting to pay kaifer in the case that we just described, so too when there's no edim at all, you at least have to pay the domim, you have to pay the payment of the damages, even if you don't have to pay it as a kaifer, but you still have to pay the money for the damages that happened over here. This is regarding the payment of kaifer. Since we see there's a power to the haidah regarding kaifer, we extend that even when you don't pay kaifer, that there's a power to his haidah that you have to pay the domim, you have to pay the damages. However, Gabi Eved, when it comes to an Eved, she'enim mishalim knas api atzmai. There's never such a thing that you could be maida, and because of your haidah, you'll have to pay this knas. And v'heichidami, what would be the case where you would think such a thing would apply? The yasa Edom v'asida beida katal. If Edom come and say Edom, Eidos that is, that this shar gored and killed this eved, v'lo yadi itama v'imud have, and it's unknown if it's a tam or a muad, and you only pay the knas if it's a muad. V'ama mare muadu. And the owner comes and admits that it's a muad, you don't pay for this. If he's made himself, because this is a knas, by knas the rule is you never pay if you're made. So therefore, since you find by a eved that his haidah is worthless, you never pay with his haidah. If there's no edim here, you don't have to pay either for the value, for the damages either. So therefore, that's what the Mishnah was saying. This is a Mishnah actually in Ksubis that the Gemara quoted. The Mishnah there is making a distinction between the person being maida that his shar killed a person, another yid, or the shar that killed another eved. When the shar killed the yid, because you find that his haidah there will make him pay kaifer. Well, even when you can't pay kaifer, you pay domim, you have to pay for the damages. But by the eved, his haidah will never be mechayiv him to pay knas. So when you don't pay the knas, you don't pay according to his haidah any domim either. The Gemara asks in this, Masur of Shmuel but of Yitzchak, in a Braisa it says, Kol shechayev ben chayrin, chayev be'eved. Whenever you chayev to pay for a ben chayrin, for a yid that got killed by a shar, you chayev to pay by an eved that got killed. Bein be'koifer and bein be'misa. But whether we're talking about the payment of koifer and whether misa. which is when there's a payment of kaifer. So the Gemara over here says, so the kaifer is by the ben chayrin and the misa is by the eved. So the Gemara asks, what is this supposed to mean? What is it saying here that there's an equal payment for a ben chayrin and an eved for kaifer? Kaifer be'eved miyike? Is there any payment of a kaifer by an eved? There's no such a thing. There's no payment of kaifer by an eved. El alav, don't you think the pshat over here is domim? What we're talking about is the chiddush that we said before, that even when there's no payment of kaifer, but nevertheless, you have to pay for the damages, the value of the damages, even not as kaifer. You still have to pay domim. And over here, what is this Braisa saying? That the payment for the eved and the payment for a ben chayrin is the same. That both of them, when there's no kaifer, you still have to pay the domim. So how could the Gemara before say that there's a distinction between them? That by eved, you don't pay domim, and by the ben chayrin, by a yid, you do pay domim. And says the Gemara, Ikadamri whom of love whom law. Some said of Shmuel, but Rav Yitzchak himself answered this. And Ikadamri Amalei Rabbe, that Rabbe answered this question and explained as follows. This Braisa is not the case that we spoke about before. Before, what were we talking about? When the person is admitting himself. And there, Rabbe said that there's a distinction between the Eved and a Yid. By a Eved, if you made yourself, there's no payment of Domim. By a Yid, if you murder yourself, there is a payment. But over here, it's a different case. Halchi Katani. Over here, what this Bryce is talking about is Kol Shechayev B'ben Chayrin. Anytime you chayev to pay the kaifer by a ben chayrin, by a yid, and when is that? B'kavone al pi edim. If the Sher Gordon killed someone, this yid b'kavone, and it was with edim, so then kaifer. So you have to pay the kaifer, chayev be'eved knas. Just like you have to pay the kaifer for a yid, so too by a eved you have to pay the knas. And v'chol shechayev be'ben chayrin shaloi b'kavone al pi edim domim. Now by a yid, if you're shar gord and it gored this person shaloi b'kavone, and it was with edim, so in such a case when your shar Gordon killed someone with edim and it was shaloi b'kavone, so over here there's no kaifer. Why is there no kaifer? Because the shayr itself doesn't have to be put to death. If the shayr itself, because it did it shalei b'chavana, does not have to be put to death, so that there's no payment of kaifer. But domim you have to pay. The value of the damage that this shayr just did, that you do have to pay. So too, chayiv be'eved shalei b'chavana al pi edim domim. Similar by a eved, if you shayr gored and killed the eved shalei b'chavana, but it's according to edim, you are going to have to pay for the value of the damages. So basically what the Gemara is saying is, this Braisa is saying that we do compare an Eved to a Yid that was gored and killed, Shaloi b'chavane, that even though there's no payment of Kaifer, or there's no payment of Knas, nevertheless the Domim you have to pay for the value of the damages. But this is in the case of Shaloi b'chavane, and there's Edim here, not in the case of a Haidah, when the person was being Maida. In the case when the person himself was being Maida, that the Gemara said before, the koyach of Haidah to be mechayev to pay domim does not work by an eved, because by an eved you can't be made. It's a knas, and even if there's no knas, there's no Haidah that works by an eved. But here we're talking about something else. When it gored and killed shaloi b'chavana, when it killed shaloi b'chavana, over there you're going to have to pay the payment of domim both by a yid and by the eved.
It's the same thing. So it's just called a different way.
True, it's a similar kind of thing, but the difference is before it's with the Haidah of the person admitting. Over here it's with Edim. But it's Edim, but it happened Shaloi b'chavana. Because it happened Shaloi b'chavana, there's no payment of Kaifer, there's no payment of Knas, but you do have to pay the Damim. Okay, let's learn one more piece of it. We're not going to be able to finish the whole Amid today, but let's learn one more piece here. The Gemara asks in this, Amalei Rave, now Rave asks as follows. What comes out from this whole thing is we have a chiddush here that even in a case where you don't pay kaifer, like by the shayr that gores another person, you usually have to pay kaifer. But even in a case where there is no payment of kaifer, why? Because the shayr is not being put to death, whether because it happened shalei b'chavane or because it's only you that were maide. But nevertheless, Rava was machadish that there's still a payment of damim. You have to pay for the death that happened as a regular damage. So now the Gemara asks, so Rav asks Rabbe, if so, maybe we should say the same thing regarding other kinds of sources of damage. This halacha of payment of kaifer, where does it say in the Torah the halacha of payment of kaifer? Only regarding a shayr, an ox that gores and kills a person. Regarding any other kind of damage, you don't find it. Here the Gemara talks about a fire. Let's say a fire was lit and it killed somebody. It doesn't say in the Torah that if you light a fire and the fire spreads and kills someone, that there's a payment of kaifer. But now, based on what we said before, we can say, Ishay shaloi b'chavane, if a fire was lit and it burnt someone and it killed him. And this happened shaloi b'chavane, al pi edim, and you have edim for this, neshalim damim, even if there's no payment of kaifer, you should have to pay money for this. Even though it doesn't say in the Torah kaifer. But you just said before, even when there's no kaifer, there's no reason that you shouldn't have to pay the damim. So in this case, you should have to pay damim as well. Now Rashi just explains the reason why the Gemara here says shaloi b'chavana is because if this happened b'chavana, then you chayiv misa because you killed another human being, and then there's kamlei b'derabim minei. So if you chayiv misa, for sure you wouldn't have to pay any damim. But if this happened shaloi b'chavana, even if there's no kaifer here, why is there no kaifer? Because the Torah says the din of kaifer only by a shar, not by a eish, not by a fire that's mazik. But nevertheless, you should have to pay damim. Okay, now the Gemara. This is the question that Rava asks Rabbi. So the Gemara asks, what's the question? Maybe that's actually true. Maybe that's actually the halacha. If you have fire, if you light a fire, and then it spreads, and it kills someone, so you should be chayiv to pay the damim for even if you don't pay kaifer, but you should have to pay the damim. And how does Rava know that you don't have to pay the damim in that case, that he's asking Rabbi such a question? Maybe that's in fact the halacha. So the Gemara tries to bring sources here where Rava saw that you don't have to pay this damim. If you would say it's from the Mishnah that says, and this Mishnah we had quoted before, a case where a person lit a fire, he lit someone's pile of grain on fire. And then what happened? This fire spread, and there was a goat that was tied over there, and and the person's slave was there as well. And the slave also got burnt. Chayiv. You chayiv to pay for all the money damages because the slave that got burned, he could have ran away. So it's not considered that you killed this eved. There's no kamle b'derabim over here. But if eved kafusloi, if there was an eved that was tied over there, and the eved couldn't run away, a gedi samochloi, and there was a goat that was right over there, v'nisrafimoi, and they all got burned together, then potter. You're going to be potter to pay. So at this point, the Gemara understands that how did this eved get burnt? You didn't light the fire and burn this eved directly. What happened is you lit the Godish on fire and the fire spread. And because the fire spread, you're not chayiv misa for this eved that died. Why not? Rashi here brings it. This is connected to the sugya we learned before, that when you light a fire, according to the Shlakish, a fire that spread is not like an arrow. It's not like you caused the death directly. It's like your money that damages. Ishay mishum minor, not mishum chitzov. So this eved that died here, you're not chayiv misa for that. And nevertheless, what does it say over here? You're going to be potter. You're potter to pay over here for this eved and the gedi. Why are you potter for the eved? Why don't you have to pay the money for this eved? So the reason is, the Gemara now understands that you're potter to pay because here is where Rava proves his halacha from this Mishnah, that when you cause a damage to an eved and this eved died, you don't have to pay for his death. Why? Because the Torah does not say a payment of kaifer for an eved, and so too there's no payment of damim either. That's what it says over here. So therefore, this was the source of where Rava asked this question of Rabbi. That here you see that for this eved you don't have to pay anything. You potter. But the Gemara says there's no raya from here at all. Why? Because Omer Reish Lakish said about that Mishnah, over there the case is he did light the fire directly in the body of the eved himself. So he's a murderer. He went and mamish lit the fire in the body of the eved. To come le. So over there, the reason why you potter to pay is not because there's no payment of kaifer and there's no payment of any other money. Over there, you chayiv misa. Because you lit the body of the eved on fire. And therefore, if once you chayiv misa, you don't have to pay for anything else. So over there's no raya. So the Gemara brings from another brayso of Ela Mahad Tanya. There's a brayso we had before in the Masechta. The Masechta talks, the brayso here talks about different sources of damage, the stringencies of one over the other. And it says, that fire is more stringent than boyer. Why? Fire burns things that get burnt naturally. And there are things that are not flammable and they don't get burnt automatically and naturally. Like if you have fire that singes rocks and it causes damage for things that are not flammable. But either way, whatever damage this fire causes, you're going to be chayiv. That's the chiddush that you find by eish, astringency. which is not the case with a boyer. You're not chai for things that are not roy, things that fall into the boyer that are not roy for it, you're going to be potter for that. That's the stringency that Brisa says. Now, v'ilu, however, it does not say there, sha'esh, mishalemes, shaloi b'chavane, domim, that by fire, if you lit a fire and it ended up burning a person, shaloi b'chavane, that for this, even though there's no payment of kaifer, but you pay domim, you have to pay the value of the damage. Mashen came b'boyer, which is not the case by boyer. By boyer, if a person falls into a boyer, you put it to pay for the person that died inside this boyer. That's b'chlal the halacha by boyer. Why did the Brisa loikatani? That stringency the Brisa does not say. So from the fact that the Brisa does not say that stringency, I see that by Eish, there is no payment of domim. This was Rav's source to say that by Eish, where there's no kaifer, there's also no payment of domim. That was his question on Rabbah. Says the Gemara, that's no raya from that Brisa either. Why? Dilme, Tana, V'Shayir. That Brisa, when it says stringencies of one Ava Mazik over another, it leaves out many stringencies. And this is another thing that it leaves out. The Gemara already before said, it leaves out over there many things, so there's no raya from there. Okay, so the Gemara concludes and says as follows. Elo, Rave Gufe Iboyim Iboyele. Rave himself didn't ask this as a question to Rabbe, but he asked this as a shaila. He was not sure about this. And his shaila was, Ishoy Shaloi B'Chavona. If you light a fire, and then Shaloi B'Chavona, it spreads and it kills a person. Mi Mishalim Domim. Do you have to pay for the value of the damage? Or you don't have to pay for the value of this damage. Mi amrinon, not do I say, ga beishoir. I find when an ox gores and kills a person, the b'chavana mishalam kaifer. If the ox gored and killed a person b'chavana, so there's a payment of kaifer. So since I see the Torah said that when the person was killed, you pay kaifer, shaloi b'chavana. So if it happens shaloi b'chavana and there is no payment of kaifer, why not? Because the share is not put to death, so there's no payment of kaifer. Mishalim damim. Over there, since I say the Torah says you pay kaifer, when there's no kaifer, you at least have to pay damim for the damages. Aval ishoy, when it comes to a fire that you lit and it ends up burning someone, the bechavane loy mishalem kaifer, you light the fire and then it goes and spreads, and you did it bechavane that it should spread. But over there is no payment of kaifer. The Torah was machadish this din of kaifer only by a shar, not by a eish that spreads and kills someone. There is no payment of kaifer. So I should say shaloi bechavane nami loy mishalem damim. So if shaloi b'chavane, also you don't pay. There's no payment of any damages when the person died. You only pay when you damage. But when another human being died, over there your einish is much worse than that. Over there is no payment of damim. Over there the Torah didn't give this chiyuv of paying damim. Or maybe we could say, just like we find regarding an ox that Gordon killed someone. When it happens, in such a case there is no kaifer. Mishalem domim. Still, Rabbi was machadish that the payment of the value of the damages you do have to pay. So maybe by a fire I could say the same thing. Even though there is no payment of kaifer, but shaloi b'chavana mi is mishalem domim. But if it happens shaloi b'chavana, you will have to pay for the money damages. Says the Gemara, V'lo yadinon. We don't know the answer to this shaila. This is unusual. The Gemara says to Shaloshin, Teiku. This remains a shaila.